During all these episodes of the flight plan, we're talking about different brands and different agencies that we work with just for what we've chosen. We don't have any sponsorship from any of these agencies or companies. So when we talk about DJI, Pilot Institute, any of those, we are not sponsored by any of them at this time. Now, if anybody like Greg from Pilot Institute wants to sponsor us, we'd love to be able to have that conversation because we love Pilot Institute and we love all the products that we use. That's why we wanted to share them with you. But it is your decision as a consumer of where you want to go with what you want to purchase, and we will try and do our best to steer you towards a direction to get you started on your research. And now we start the flight plan. My name's Christopher, and we're back with another episode of the flight plan here at Christopher's Creation Studio in Hays, Kansas. And today we're going to talk about drones. We're the flight plan. We're going to talk about drones. So today we've got 3 different drones to work with. We have our small one, which is the DJI Neo 2. We have our next small one, which is the DJI Avata 2. And then we have our workforce, which is, you guessed it, the DJI Mavic 3 Pro. These are the 3 main drones that I use in my everyday business at Christopher's Creations to be able to get drone footage and to be able to do the different works that we do, and each one does a different job. So our workhorse drone, this is our DJI Mavic 3 Pro. This one we pretty much do all of our jobs with. This one has a Hasselblad camera on the front. It has 3 modes to it. For the camera lenses, we actually have 3 different sensors. Our first sensor is our one-time optical zoom. This one's equivalent to a 24 millimeter lens. Our medium one, which is our 70 millimeter, or we know it as our 3-time optical zoom. And then we also have our more telephoto lens. This one's equivalent to a 166 millimeter lens. So if you are interested in cameras, you'll know that the 24 millimeter lens is a very wide angle lens, the ability for us to be able to see a very wide picture. 166 millimeter optical zoom is more on the zoom side, but allows us to be able to zoom in quite a bit without having to physically move the drone. This allows us to fly in areas that are near people, because regulations state we can't fly directly over people unless we have waivers or certain drones. This particular drone is not supposed to fly over people and is actually not allowed to fly over people because it weighs way over the limitation. This one weighs about 900 grams at takeoff, which means that you've got a pretty big, heavy weight that if something goes wrong, falls out of the sky and it can hurt a lot of people. So we don't use this when we fly over crowds, but if we're flying over farms or we're flying over construction sites, we typically fly over safe areas, which would mean we're flying over treetops, we're flying over roof buildings, so that if something does go wrong and it falls, it hits an inanimate object versus an individual. So we use our zoom quite a bit more to be able to get that nice crisp look by still flying in a safe manner. All 3 of them have the capability of recording at 4K quality, so we can get that nice high quality video on each one. And they of course all record to our micro SD card for our post-processing. It does have a flight time of about 40 minutes in optimal conditions. So if we don't have a lot of wind or we're not doing a lot of back and forths, we can be able to do about a good solid 35 to 40 minute job site with it. The gimbal and drone has a wind rating of about 30 miles an hour. So if we've got a crosswind at the 25 mile an hour mark, which happens almost every single day in Kansas, we have the ability to both fly this more often versus some of our other drones, which don't have as high of a wind load. With our Mavic 3 Pro, we have the capability of also doing it where we will show on a later episode how to use this in mapping. There is not a simple mapping feature that's been put into the Mavic, but we have worked a workaround to be able to make it do our mapping for us as well, where we can both have our camera pointing straight down and doing an actual detailed mapping job. It also has the capability of having all of its sensors on top and on bottom to be able to make sure that we don't run into obstacles, and it has a wonderful optical avoidance system until we get to low light. But overall, it's a great little drone to work with. Unlike our Mavic 3 Pro, we go to our Avata 2. This one is significantly smaller than our Mavic, which means it has less of a wind load and also has less of a flight time. It has a wind capability of only 20 miles per hour versus our near 30 that we have on the other one. But in addition to that, the flight time on this one is reduced to only 20 minutes. Our other one having 43 minutes gives us a lot more work with. So our Avata 2 is more used for when we're flying in through buildings or going from outside to inside. Gives us the capability where it's small enough that we can fly through a single doorway, unlike the Mavic where it's so large with the props that we could actually clip a door and be able to work with that. This still is too heavy for flying over people, even though it's only 370 grams, significantly lighter than our Mavic. With its weight limit, we're still too heavy to be able to fly over people, so we make sure that we fly in a safe manner in areas that don't have individuals underneath the drone, or if it's just ourselves being either right behind the drone or just a little bit further back to make sure we don't have anybody going through there. The Avata also records to micro SD cards, so it's however large you have there. The other big difference between the Mavic and the Avata is designed more as a first-person view drone versus a large camera drone like we have. So our field of vision is actually increased to 155 degrees for our wide field of vision, which means it's not really directly related to any regular lens. It's just more of a wide angle lens, allowing us that when we're flying through buildings, having a better visual preference, a visual looking as well to what we're seeing with the camera. Also, that allows us to be able to use the goggle flight a lot easier than doing a controller flight, which the Mavic 3 does a lot more of the controller. This drone has a lot of capabilities to be able to fly in and around tight corners, and it also we don't use it as a joystick controller. We have a motion sense controller to work with ours. So we've got quite a bunch of different details when we come into that one. Now the last one we have is the newest one to our fleet. This is the Neo 2. This one is actually the one that we can both use to fly over people. We still have to have our waivers and everything in place in order for us to be able to do our different activities. We have to also prove that we're going to be flying this in a very safe manner, even when we're around individuals. This is because the fact that even though this is significantly lighter than the other two, at only 151 grams, it actually has the ability to still hurt somebody. So we still fly with it where we're directly behind it or we're right near it, that we can be able to keep people out from being directly underneath it. Our entire plan is to make sure that we always fly in a safe manner. This, although, again, we went from the Avata down to this one, we call it the baby because it's so small. With its significantly smaller size, its wind load capability is even less than we have with the Avata. We can get about 15 miles an hour of gust winds that can be able to start pushing it off course. And sometimes even less if we're getting a constant flow of wind. And then the battery only has about a 19-minute battery with it. In reality, that's only about a 13 to 15-minute flight time that we can do with the Neo. So we don't usually use this for large jobs. We'll use this for more smaller jobs and for more taking pictures and video with people at events and things of that nature. The other advantage of doing the Neo 2 is its price range. These Neo 2s cost significantly less compared to the DJI Mavic 3s. So if you're getting started and everything, the Neo 2 or even the Neo 1 that's still available for sale on most resellers are a great starting drone, especially in the commercial area, to start working with. Some of the new advantages that the Neo 2 has over the other ones, in addition to having its obstacle avoidance sensors, it also has subject tracking and the capability of using an internal computer to be able to do hand gesture controls. So if you're going to be working with a Neo 2 for, say, like this podcast, which we will show you guys later on, you can be able to use the camera to follow, or you can have it do a lot more of its controls directly from the drone itself. You also don't have to have a manual controller to it. You can use the transmitter, such as this one here, to be able to connect directly to a cell phone, and you can be able to use your cell phone to be able to control a lot more of what the drone can do. Now, all three of these still are going to follow the same restrictions and regulations that we have to work with in the drone world. One of the big ones is we cannot fly near airports unless we have LANC approval. We'll get into what LANC approval is in a later episode. We can't be able to fly over 400 feet above ground level from any point of our flight. And we have to always stay within visual line of sight of our drones, especially if we're using something smaller like this one, means that our visual line of sight is going to be significantly reduced. It is very difficult to see this one at 400 feet versus looking at this one at 400 feet. So we have multiple different things to do at different styles of what we can do with each drone.
Cool. So how many drones do you want in your fleet?
I want them all.
You want them all?
It's like Pokemon, collect them all. No. As I was saying, each drone does a different job for a different specialty for each job. Is designed for different things. So as long as I keep doing different jobs, I might need to be growing to different numbers of drones. We have 3 in the fleet right now. I could see us having 1,000 if I ever had the money for it, but in reality, it probably more like 6 or 7 in total will be actually the active in the fleet.
And do you think you'll be able to go any bigger than the Mavic 3?
Oh, I will definitely be able to go bigger than the Mavic 3. So the Mavic 3 is actually not considered the professional line yet. These are still consumer drones. Consumer drones versus professional drones is no different than consumer cameras versus professional cameras. The consumer drones are going to be usually made of a cheaper material than the professional levels. They're not going to be as sturdy as the professional ones, but they're still going to be top tier drones, especially from DJI. This is why we stay with DJI. They've got an amazing line of drones. Even though we're not sponsored by them, I will still say I love my DJI because the DJI is the drone of my choice. There are other levels such as the Matrice. You can get into some of the enterprise level drones that they sell, and those ones you will be able to have capabilities of taking payloads like our Canon cameras. They can actually take larger cameras. So instead of having ones that are built in, they're external cameras. You can do more things with them. And then, of course, you can get into the agricultural drones where you can both spray crops, things of that nature. I probably won't be getting into that level anytime soon just because I'm more of the cinematography side of things versus the tools side of things.
What would you say to someone who's just starting their commercial drone career?
If someone's starting off in the drone world, especially if they're wanting to get into the commercial deal, the more money does not mean the better drone. There are some really good drone out there, especially starting out, that aren't from DJI, that they don't have the flight time that DJI does. They don't have the wind load that DJI does, but they do have a great starting point to get going. You don't have to say, oh, well, in order for me to start this up, I need to spend $5,000 on a drone. You can get a good one from Potensic or from multiple other companies on Amazon that just gets you in the air. I actually started with a Potensic drone as my very first one before I got my Part 107. I did the Trust concept, and actually back then it wasn't called Trust. It was just you went online, did a test, and said, I know enough to be able to not fly in front of airplanes. That's all you really had. And then you would register that drone, and you could be able to go and fly recreationally. I used that just to be able to get started. And then once I went into the commercial, that's when I went into the DJI after doing many months of research of this is what I want to work with. And if you're watching the news and you're watching all the people that says how difficult it's going to be to get drone licensing, it's really not. It's a scare tactic to get people to be fearful over something else. Drones have a place in the world. People don't like change, and this is the biggest change that we've seen. And it's also because a lot of people aren't following the regulations. So even if you're not looking at doing a commercial drone, make sure that you follow the FAA regulations, because the more the people follow the regulations and the less instances we have of near collisions or actual collisions of drones over airplanes, helicopters, emergency response, individuals that are using drones in bad ways like spying or doing things that they aren't supposed to with the drones. The less of those we have, the better off the environment is going to be in the drone world. So people think, and this is a sad thing from not just drones, but from everyone, people think the rules don't apply to them. They really do. And having something this new, if we don't act as a drone community in a professional way, even if we're not a commercial drone pilot, we're gonna lose the ability to have as easy of a time to work with these as other things like cameras or things of that nature. And just follow the rules, follow the guidelines. And if you're starting out, you've got this. Once you take the first step to go to an education site to start getting your Part 107 license, go for it. I said in a different episode, the last episode, that I use Pilot Institute for my classroom. I'm not saying that's the only way to go. That was just the best one that I found when I went through my course almost 5 years ago. There are plenty of businesses out there that have the education for Part 107 for drones. I would still say go to something like Pilot Institute or another very well-named agency who does the teaching, so that you can get the most up-to-date regulations, because they're changing. Part 107 has already been revised multiple times. Our waivers concept has been revised multiple times, and our now we're looking at a new part possibly. Part 108 is going to address the whole new package delivery system that we're trying to get out into the world of drones. So if you really want to get in the commercial side, you got to know the information. It's got to be up to date. So get with someone that is already updated with the newest stuff. And that's where I would say you should start out at.